Hey guys, Harris Rubenstein here for Chat Sports. Joining me is Brent Corobotiuc, the head risk manager at BetDSI. Brent, let's go through some college football picks. We had a great week last week, and I'm sure we'll have another great weekend of college football this weekend. Let's start with Stanford-Oregon in Eugene. Stanford, a 2-point favorite. What do you see with this game? How has the line been moving so far, and which team are you seeing more money come in on?
It's interesting with the whole Pac-12. You expected more from them, and then things didn't start out too well yet. Lo and behold, Washington was supposed to be, maybe one of the strongest teams, and they lost, right off the bat. Opening week they lost, so they're sitting there at 2-1. But you do still have like the Pac-12 up there in terms of rankings. Stanford's right up there now, up to number 7 at 3-0, and Oregon. Oregon was kind of left for dead for a few years back. They put up a whole lot of points, and then all of a sudden they were giving up a whole lot of points. Now, they're sitting there. I think they're ranked 20th right now at 3-0. And this is like a really interesting game. I think it's one of those games that most of people are going to be watching this time around. I know they tend to shy away from these games in terms of having the Pac-12 on prime time. But Stanford at Oregon is a big game. We talked about on the NFL segment about home field being worth about 3 points, and this is kind of the same thing in college football. It's roughly around there now. You kind of have a little slightly more extremes in terms of line value for home field. Places like the Big House or what have you can obviously be worth a little bit more than, say, playing at a place like Oregon State, for example, just throwing that out there. But this line, we did have Oregon as a 2-point favorite to start off with, and it's actually flipped because we've got more money coming in on Stanford here. So I've got Stanford Cardinal now favored by 2 on the road at Oregon. So it's not a huge move, and I know a lot of people will say, well, it's not really a big deal. You're basically talking from one team favored by 2 to another team favored by 2, and what are the chances the games ever land too? But they do, and obviously the numbers are obviously quite valuable, even though with a flip here. But just betting wise, I've got a whole lot of one-sided action on Stanford. Now I don't have any sharp money behind either side in this game right now, so we've just kind of been riding the line move the way it's gone from Oregon -2 down to a pick and up to Stanford -2 where it is right now. If I'm looking at my actual individual number of bets, my wager count, it favors Stanford almost like 5-1, so that's quite a dramatic count.
Well, if you guys want to bet on Stanford at Oregon this weekend, head to chatsports.com/bet. Use that promo code LIVE120 for a 120% deposit bonus. You deposit $100, they will give you $120 for free. Use that promo code LIVE120 for that 120% deposit bonus. Joining us is Brent Corobotiuc from BetDSI, the head risk manager. Brent, let's talk about betting discipline. So obviously when sportsbooks make their lines, they are sent out there. Once they're out there, sharps and the rest of bettors, they're just going up against themselves, correct? Sportsbooks have no other hand in what's going on.
Yeah, I think that's one of the kind of misconceptions that people, get the impression that it's them versus the sportsbook. But really, I talked about how unsexy what we do really is in terms of risk management. We're just trying to, take team A versus team B, and without moving the line very much, get as close as we can to balanced action on both sides. So for us, it's not really picking a side or anything like that. So when you win your bet, or when you see that live movement in the marketplace, that line movement is not caused by us, it's caused by bettors. And I think people kind of get shy sometimes in terms of seeing line movement going away from them. They think, I really like this team, say -7.5 points, and now the line's down to -5.5. So why is it moved against me? But what they have to appreciate is that line movement was caused by other bettors. So really, if you have a better opinion than the other guys out there gambling, then go, stick to your guns in terms of what happened out there. Now, there are sharp guys who obviously will move numbers quite a bit, but the idea that you're going against other bettors, is something that people is kind of like novel to them. And you hear guys talk about all the time. I took, $100 from my sports book last week. And, yeah, that's your money, but you probably took it from someone else in reality.
Exactly. At the end of the day, it is still a competition, and you want to make money over the other guy. So that is simply the nature of the game. Let's go on to this Michigan Nebraska game that is kind of interesting. So it started at 18, it jumped to 19.5. Now it's sitting at 17.5, but there are reports coming out now Nebraska starting quarterback A.J. Martinez is injured. So when someone like that gets injured, how does it sway the line? Do you pull it off the books instantly, or do you let things kind of meticulate themselves?
Yeah, we kind of have a couple of things at our disposal in terms of controlling. What we can do is have lower limits, or we can take a game off the board right away. Now, if it's someone who's like a key player, obviously like a quarterback or a star running back, what have you, we can take it off the board and just kind of wait for information. But oftentimes, like the information's really not, you're not sure either way. So it can work for or against bettors, that's for sure. When someone's questionable, you're talking about Martinez right now, have been upgraded to probable, so he's probably going to start for Michigan. Now, the thing too, you kind of have to look at is the value that a guy has to his team and kind of the value over his replacement. I know that's kind of a term that you hear a lot in analytics circles in terms of baseball, especially the value of a guy's replacement, wins over his replacement, such like that. So you have to really have a good idea in terms of the replacement value of the guy who might be coming in. And what we tend to do, we like to leave things open as much as we can. So instead of say early in the week taking 5,000 on a college football side, if there's some uncertainty, we can knock that down to like 3,000 or 2,000, just to kind of again, it's about managing risk, but also writing as much volume as you can by kickoff.
All right, let's move on here from the Michigan game. Let's get into the sharp bets that we have this week in college football. Are there any of them that are kind of sticking out to you overall? Are there any eyebrow raisers this week? I know that over the past couple of weeks, we've certainly seen some interesting ones.
Yeah, I mean, Purdue seems to be one of those teams that, hasn't looked so good. I mean, we just talked about Nebraska, and they obviously haven't looked very good either. But Purdue, last week we had that was a sharp play with them on the game going over, and that one won for sharp bettors. This week they're at home to Boston College, and I have sharp money actually both on the side and the total of this game. Now, perhaps no surprise, the sharp money came in on Boston College, even though they're the road favorite. We talked about it earlier how often sharps will look for home dogs in terms of value, but this time around they found Boston College value -6.5. They bet them. I also have a wager count, just like slightly favoring Boston College as well. So I have more public money going Boston College. That line's now 7 from 6.5. Now again, as we touched on with the nature of the scoring, field goals and touchdowns and such, the 7 points is kind of a key number in college football. It's not as key as it is in NFL, but we're kind of going to sit on the 7 and hopefully get money both ways. Also, the total has taken sharp money on the over again. Now, sharp money, as I mentioned, was on the Purdue game over last week, and I've got sharp money on the over again this week. Now, that came at 63, and we're sitting at 65.5 right now. So sharp money both on the side and total on this game. Another total play and another over we're talking about is Louisville. Now, Louisville is on the road at Virginia. Virginia's a 4.5 point favorite, but sharp money came on the total of this one. They came in at 52. We're sitting at 54.5, and no surprise, I've got probably twice as much money, or twice as many bets, on the total over as well. So again, generally speaking, when sharp money goes over and public money goes over, it's never good for us. We like to have the public guys going over and the sharp guys going under, which we find more in the NFL, not so much in college football. But sharps and public on the same side this time around. Down to Mississippi, there's kind of a misconception sometimes that sharp bettors, people say, oh, sharp bettors don't lay big numbers. But I think, sharp guys, we've seen year after year, wherever they find value, they're going to take it. Mississippi -25 is where we took sharp money on this one. They're at home to Kent State, and line right now is up to 29. So that's quite a big jump, a 4-point jump from 25 to 29 right now. And again, sometimes these games aren't very sexy in terms of what the sharp guys bet. They just looking for value. They don't really care whether it's on TV or what have you. And the game here with Texas State at Texas San Antonio is another sharp play here. I've got Texas State sharp money coming in at +9.5. They're on the road at Texas San Antonio. Texas San Antonio 0-3, and they opened up as like a 10-point favorite. Sharp money came here at +9.5. That line's down to 7 right now. And finally, one more total would be Eastern Michigan and San Diego State. That game I took sharp money on the over. Not a whole lot of public involvement so far, just the sharp money driving this number up. They came in at over 48, and we're up to 50.5 right now.
Brent Corobotiuc joining us from BetDSI, showing us the college football sharp picks of the week. I like that Boston College, that the sharps are putting them down at -6.5. Our guy A.J. Dillon just made our Heisman Trophy power rankings for the first time last week. If you want to bet on the top college football games, head to chatsports.com/bet. Use our promo code LIVE120 for a 120% deposit bonus. Thank you for joining us again this week, Brent.
Thanks, Harris. I appreciate you guys having me on.